don't care.
Right.
They will not care. And you see, a lot of people think that it's just the husband and the wife in the marriage. No. Yeah, the family is involved. Your friends are involved.
Anybody that you're listening to.
Yes, everybody that you're listening to. Social media is involved. TV is involved. What films are you watching? What series are you watching? Those things influence your thinking and your core
decisions.
beliefs. Yeah, and your decisions. And so, you know, I wouldn't like us to just look at this from an insular perspective or from an isolated perspective. It is the norm in society today. You know, there are people that are married, right?
But they're separated.
But they're not really connected anymore. And the question is this: do you just want to save face? What is the import and the impact on the children? Because you see, when you bring up children in a dysfunctional environment, it affects them emotionally, psychologically, and behaviorally. And so you have to ask yourself, you know, what is really going on? And are you guys talking about that situation? Because you may think that your children don't know. You may think that they don't feel what is going on. But guess what? They know. They feel it, and it's affecting them. And one of the ways that you know is their behaviors. The second way you know is their academics. It will start to drop. And with children, you know, those are the two critical ways you will know. However, on the long term, it would affect them emotionally and psychologically. And even as adults, to be able to function. Yeah, so you know, I think that you know we should approach this conversation.
Absolutely, that's actually what we want to do. Yeah.
Right. So you mentioned that there are couples in marriages that are living apart mentally, even though they're living together physically. So that means that they have outgrown each other. So what kind of advice can you give to couples in a marriage that feel they are outgrowing each other? They haven't gotten to the peak yet, but they're beginning to sense that there's something off about my partner that is, you know...
You don't even know they're actually outgrowing each other.
Yeah, they can tell to a certain extent.
Well, you know, some know.
Some don't.
Some know and want to do something about it. Some know and don't care. Some don't know. Some, you know, the people around them know. You know, so there are different scenarios. For the guy that knows and wants to do something about it, right, then it's important for you to sit down and first of all do a reflection. You know, and ask yourself, you know, how old are we? How mature are we? Because maturity and seeking for peace is one of the greatest things that, you know, keeps marriages together. You know, it's a case of when we get into an argument or we have a conflict. Am I trying to prove that I'm the one that is right? Am I choosing my own perspective, right? My own core values, my own ideologies, my own belief over the relationship and over peace in the relationship? So I call it choosing peace over justice.
Right.
A lot of people would rather choose justice. And their argument is based on the fact that I am the one that is right.
And I want to gain closure.
My way. And I insist that, you know, we have this conversation now. Rather than, you know what, let's approach this from a mature perspective. Let us talk. You have your views. I have my views. And let us, you know, merge those views and come up with one solution.
Like a marriage appraisal.
Yes. So that's the people that know. That's the first thing. The second thing is to then accept that we have grown apart.
Yeah.
You know, when you marry, and that's why, you know, one of the concepts that you know, a lot of people used to teach us is don't marry early. Because you see, what you want at age 21
Totally different.
and what you want at age 25 is different from what you want at 30, 35, 40, 45, 50.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
So when is the best age to get married?
You know, there is no age. It's the age where you are mature. It's the age where you've found yourself. It's the age where you've discovered your true essence. It's the age where, you know, you understand that you're here for a purpose, right? And you understand the purpose of that marriage.
Key, very key.
Because every human being is born with a purpose.
Absolutely.
Right? And you have a life vision and a life mission. And your partner has a life mission and a life mission. So you both get in the same boat. And your own life mission is supposed to lead you west. But your partner's is supposed to lead her east. And you are in the same boat. One person will suffer a casualty, or both of you will suffer a casualty as it pertains to your life vision and your purpose. So you should not be married if you are not clear. At least if you don't have an inclination about where you're going, who you are, and your partner as well, and you have that conversation. There is a book that I've been writing for the last 2 years. The questions that you must ask yourself before you say I do.
That would be an interesting book.
I have created over 365 questions.
Wow. Can you just mention some of these questions?
These are some of the questions that I'm asking already. Why am I here?
Yeah.
Who am I? Who am I not? Because who you are not is as important as who you are. You know, a lot of us, because of FOMO, we make certain decisions, right? Because of our fear of missing out. And, you know, we're living other people's lives. We're not authentic. We're not original.
Right.
We're not doing our own thing. We're not living our lives on our own terms. So we're living other people's lives. Now, you now want that person to marry someone else that's like that person. Who will be making the decisions in your relationship? Other people. You know, what other people will say, what other people will think, and all of those things. So you must ask those questions. You must ask, what am I? And what am I not? Because you see, when you talk about, okay, let me use a spoon to describe this concept, right? A teaspoon is different from a soup spoon.
Yes.
And a tablespoon.
Absolutely.
So you use a teaspoon for tea. Use a tablespoon to eat on the table. A soup spoon to stir the soup when you are cooking the soup in the pot. If you take a soup spoon into the pot, what is going to happen to your hands or your fingers? You'll burn it. And so a lot of people are putting themselves to abnormal use in relationships and in marriages because they don't know what they are. They don't know what they are not. They don't know what their spouse is or what their spouse isn't. They don't know who they are. Yes. They don't know why they're on earth. They don't know what their purpose or the solution that they were born to be is. Now, I am called to you in a marriage, not to compete with each other. So my difference is your complement, not your conflict. But my difference becomes your conflict, and your difference becomes my conflict. And then that becomes the bone of contention and conflicts in our marriage.
And this is
a master class. Okay, so I'm taking you back to children. You know, while growing up, we would realize that quite a number of people were from dysfunctional homes such that they saw their parents doing a lot of things, but you would realize that maybe the mother would say, I'm staying because of my children. I'm staying because, you know, we just mostly give the reason for the children. And so now that we're much older, we see that when we cite something that looks like what we've experienced in our parents' house, I'm speaking generally now, we run, right? Which is now a reason why I feel that the exposure that we've seen now is as a result of the fact that we've seen it before, we don't want to allow it happen again.
Like avoiding trauma.
Avoiding it again. But we see that the long-term effects of that, whereby the woman can't even, any small thing, she's moved. Yes. What are those effects on the society today as a whole?
Yeah, so that is another fundamental reason why marriages, you know, are failing today. So there's what we call flight, fight, freeze, response to trauma. And so I often say that there are three victims in any dysfunctional environment. the person that is abusing, the person that is abused, and the witness. So in this case, the children witnessed it. You see, we're all products of our environment. It's almost like the greatest school when it comes to marriage is the family institution you're born into. Because you wake up in the morning, 24/7, you're there. So maybe you marry at 8:30. For 30 years of your life, you're studying. You're in school. And you're a product of what you've learned. It's because all you know is all you have learned. Right? And you cannot produce anything outside of that. So it's either you replicate that model or you resist it. But what you resist persists. So you now realize that, man, this is a trigger. But that trigger psychologically impacts and emotionally impacts you. So you make a decision. So I say to people, there is no decision that we make that is not based on an emotion. So every decision you make is emotionally based.
Yeah.
And every emotion you have is belief based. And every belief you have is your thought influence. And every thought influence is coming from an environment. So your environment shapes your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions, ultimately your decisions. And your decisions influence your actions. So you are now acting out of, you know, a place of what you truly want. You want to be happy. You want to be married. You want children. But you know what? You can't stay in a relationship. And you're wondering, what's wrong with me? After every 6 months, you sabotage that relationship. Self-sabotage. When, you know, everything is looking all rosy, then your commitment-phobic dysfunction shows up. You sabotage that relationship. You always fight or you always escape. Once it's getting too intense, find out that you just do something.
I beg, Joe, I can't hear.
You know? And if you see the patterns, you'll realize that, man, there's something going on. It's either you fight the person, it's either you take flight, or you just recoil into yourself. You're not talking, you're not engaged.
All right, thank you for staying with us. Earlier I mentioned we are having a masterclass here because we have the one and only Lanre Olushola in the studio with us talking to us about ideals of marriage. You can join the conversation and call us on 081-0764-1679 or 090-241-63440 or Twitter us using TVC Connect using the hashtag YourViewOnTVC. Now, let's backtrack a bit to this matter of what makes marriages work, actually. We need to understand it, the ideals. I know there is a thread that runs through that one can say these are the building blocks of marriage. What a day, especially for those who are looking to get married, those who are in marriages and are thinking, okay, let me take my time to look at how far we have come, what is missing, that are the ideals that are not part of the building blocks of our marriage or the foundation of our marriage. What are those things?
Well, I'll say there are 5 main ones. I've mentioned one, maturity, peace, which is born out of being emotionally intelligent. So, you know, researchers...
We have a call on the line.
All right.
I apologize.
No worries.
Kelechi has called in from Shasha. Kelechi, good morning. Welcome to the show. Go ahead with your contribution.
Veronica and Cook, good morning.
Can you speak up, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
I'm a regular follower of this program.
Thank you.
But this is the first time I'm calling on a Saturday.
Oh, hey.
Yes, Auntie Tokwe knows what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But I want to ask this question to Dr. Larry. Honestly, this hot topic is hotter. So I want to ask him this question, please. I do hear about self-belief. Experts will say believe in self. You understand? Believe in self. That's the best form of belief. Christianity will say believe in yourself and believe in God. But they believe in God much more than they believe in self. Now, Dr. Larry, let's leave about that Christianity of the thing. Please, what does it take to believe in self? And how does it go? And how does one go about self-discovery? Because this concept is really, really giving me concern.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kelechi. Yes,
Thank
self-discovery and belief.
Yeah, thank you, Kelechi. You know, it's a very, very fundamental success factor.
Yeah.
Not just in marriage, in business, in life, is this cocktail. A healthy self-worth, self-confidence, and self-belief. Without it, you can't succeed in any chosen field of endeavor. Now, and you know, quite a number of people are struggling with their self-worth, their self-confidence, and self-belief. Why? Because of this same background that we're talking about. What kind of home did you grow up in? What position alongs, you know, the number of children and siblings are you?
Is that critical?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. If you are the last born, and
I am.
Yes, if you are the last born, and you know you have older siblings that chance you, suppress you, right, and shut you up, you will struggle with your self-esteem, self-confidence. But the number one role of parents and older siblings is to help you build your confidence. So if you have siblings that tell you, you know, a friend of yours comes to chance you and bullies you, and you tell your older brother, and your older brother says, what?
Let's go there.
Let's go there. Slap him. Slap him. You know, you bullied my younger, oh yeah, get into, you are not supposed to be afraid of him. What is it doing?
Building your confidence.
Building your confidence. Or your father or your mother, or, you know, however, if they are the ones that talk down at you, if that environment is a toxic environment, you find out that your self-worth and your self-esteem will be completely eroded, right? And you will struggle in many areas of your life. So having said that, right, if that fails, then you, right, need to start doing self-help. You have to start reading books or attending courses that will get to the heart of your self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence, you know, trigger.
Right.
What is it? Because we have to get to the heart of it. Or you have a teacher who used to compare you with somebody else, right, and tell you, why can't you be? Or you have a parent or a mother that say, are you the only one in the class?
Right.
Why are you coming back with 10th position? Or you are fat, or, you know, you are plump, and they are always complaining about your weight. They are chipping on your self-worth. So it is about self-help. It is about getting a coach. It is about reading. It's about, you know, getting those self-help.
Taking deliberate steps.
Yeah, intentionality.
Yes. We have Patience on the line. Patience, are you there? Patience, can you hear me? If you can, please speak up. And if you can't, call us back. It's very important, right? There's a whole lot we have to talk about in such a short time. That's why we want to quickly address it. And earlier I mentioned the matter of the building blocks to marriage. You could quickly address
so the
that.
first is, you know, the concept that we call emotional intelligence. Research has now proven that 85% of success in relationships or in any chosen field of endeavor is dependent on how emotionally intelligent you are. There are 5 components of emotional intelligence. 1, self-awareness. Do you know yourself? Do you know your strengths? Do you know your weaknesses? Do you know your interests, your passion? Right? Do you know why you are here? Do you know what you're good at? And all of those things. Self-awareness. You know, how do you show up in an environment where there are plenty of people, when there are, you know, a small number of people, right? Self-awareness is the first thing. The second thing is motivation. What drives you? What motivates you? Are you extrinsically motivated or intrinsically motivated? Are you motivated by bonus? Are you motivated by money? Are you motivated by something that someone has power over? Or are you motivated by, you know...
Being around people?
Yes, being around people, that's external. But are you motivated by your own personal passion, interest, your own curiosity, your own desire to want to be a better person and to impact society? You know, motivation. Now, your environment. How does your environment influence your emotions, your thoughts, your beliefs? And how does that influence whether you have empathy or not?
Because they don't go and marry a wicked husband. Exactly. If you marry a wicked man, you not
empathy and compassion.
They cannot feel it. Man. Oh God. Can you just hold your thoughts?
Yeah.
We have Noanu on the line. That's well, Noanu.
That it is modernization that is making marriages break up.
Yeah.
That our old system was working, but was it really working? I don't agree.
Or maybe they were just suppressed and they weren't self-aware, just like you have told us.
You see, so let's look at it from a broader perspective, right? We are mostly influenced by what is going on in America. So our personal culture and tradition, right, is more external influenced. And if you looked at, in America, if you looked at Europe and their divorce rates, it's the highest in the world. Yeah. But if you look at India, the divorce rate in India is about 1%.
But the abuse is also high.
Yes, India is a large, country, and there are different reasons why there's a lot of abuse. And yes, there's positivity and there's negativity
everywhere.
Right, everywhere, right. But if we looked at why, it's because that if you strip it, right, you would find out in their room, and the cook brings the
we have another caller on the line. Please go ahead with your contribution. Oh, unfortunately, Damola.
Yes. So one of the key elements that we hear that is key to a successful marriage is patience. And you also alluded to that fact on one of your anniversary posts, after you had hailed Madame, and then you said, another marriage, if not handled properly.
I mean, look, man, I'm not easy. I'm driven by purpose.
Right.
The last 20 years of my life, all that I do is what God wants me to do, what God created me to do, which is this, to transform lives and transform minds. So I was running 14 businesses.
Whoa.
14. And I shut all 14 down. I shut all 14 down to pursue this. She was patient. I was selling clothes. I was doing interiors. I was a civil engineer. I was building, renovating. And one day I just came and said, God told me. God told me to shut down all my businesses.
Wow.
I'm father, I'm provider.
Wow.
So patience, even though you don't understand, what the hell this guy is talking about. Patience. Was it easy? No. It wasn't. It wasn't even easy for me. Because I was stumbling through it.
Yeah.
And the fact that, I now came and say, we have to change our name. Yeah. You married me as Lanre Kupolui. Now you change your name to Lanre Olushola. You this guy, Otikolo. So you were Mrs. X. Suddenly you were known as Mrs. Y. So of another struggle. So also the pursuit of my assignment requires that I travel a lot. Requires that I interface with a lot of people. Requires that every day I'm on Zoom or sessions at least maybe 8 hours a day.
Whoa.
Yes. So including my children are patient with me.
Right.
And that's why, the concept that I spoke about, freedom and liberty, is very, very important.
Yes.
Because one of the things that I also do is make sure that she pursues her dream. And I support her 150%. And as she fulfills her own dream, as she evolves as who God wants her to be, right? Which is the reason why she's here. Yes. She's not here because of me. She's here because God has created her for a purpose. So in supporting her to fulfill that dream, right? She yields and supports me to fulfill the reason why I'm created. And so as I am patient, she's patient. Marriage, And that's another element in emotional intelligence, suru. Patience. They say patience is a virtue. Oh yes, it is a virtue.
No, it's
Now, the ability to build relationships is another very critical component of emotional intelligence. Building relationships, right? The ability to know what makes you tick, the ability to know what interests you, the ability to know who you are, the ability to know, why you are here and what drives you, and the ability to support you in all of that, irrespective of the fact that it may be at variance to your own model.
Yeah.
Now, you must be able to accept that my model was nurtured.
Yeah.
I was nurtured into that nature. Likewise, she was nurtured into her nature. And if I feel that I have a right, to live by my nature, and I want people to accept my nature, right, then you should also be able to let other people to be comfortable to be themselves. Why? Because I was nurtured based on my background. She was nurtured based on her background. And we're two different natured people coming together by virtue of our nurture. So maybe I married at maybe 30-something. She married at maybe 20-something, right? So I've got 32 years of nurture. She's got 25 years of nurture, right? And you are expecting that you will change someone. Never try to change your spouse. Never. That is where a lot of problems come in. And the question you want to ask yourself is, you want to change your spouse to what? You want to change your spouse to yourself. But you've had a 35-year head start. So you've got to be able to support them. Now, if both of you have common vision, right, and common values, that makes things easier.
Okay, sir. Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Yes, go on.
Okay, a lot of people, the topic today is secrets to a long-lasting marriage. But there are people that have thoughts in their mind, myths that they've held on for a long time. So one of those would be that some people would say that once you have a big wedding, it means that your marriage won't last.
a threat.
Right? People think that way. So that's why Yorubas will sometimes say, when your yam is kidiko, you should cover it. Right? Another one would also say that the wife must be the one that would always cook in a marriage. So these are things that a lot of people have absorbed as their reality, such that anything that is different from what they already believe is heading for a failure in that marriage. Can you please bust those myths and shake those tables such that people are able to see that it's not just one way that leads to a lasting marriage?
All right, so you were asking about the pillars. Another pillar is your belief system. Because you see, belief, man, is so powerful.
Yes.
You know, one of the most profound statements I've ever heard in my life is this: if only you can believe, then all things are possible to him that believes.
Yes.
Now. If you also lack belief, then everything is impossible for you.
Yes.
So let's bring it into marriage. So you believe that there are certain things that affect and infect your marriage. Oh, they will affect and infect your marriage. Except you change those beliefs. You know, it's almost like the software that runs this phone. It's your beliefs and your value, your life, that run every decision you make, that run your career, that run every conviction. Now, once it becomes a conviction, right, it's justified.
Yeah.
You will act it out. In fact, you will now begin to commission disciples. So it will not only be you suffering from that limiting belief, you would also infect other people who will suffer from that belief. So it is therefore very, very important for us to audit our thoughts. For as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Now, you think with your brain, not your heart. It's a very interesting concept.
Yes.
Your thoughts influence your emotions and your beliefs. And your beliefs and your emotions influence your decisions, and your decisions influence your actions. Yeah. So if you want to change anything in your life, you must audit your thoughts, your beliefs, and your emotions, which is the concept of self-awareness. So the question you want to ask yourself is, what am I doing on Instagram for 8 hours? What am I doing watching Netflix for 5 hours. What do I know about me?
Staying by yourself.
Yeah,
Very important.
you know,
Time.
But you see,
yeah.
I want you to quickly touch on the impact of the dysfunctions we're seeing in marriages, the impact on society, attendant implications quickly before we leave.
You know, the family is the bedrock of society.
Yeah.
Period. What happens in different families cumulatively influence what happens in the communities that those families live in. And the cumulative, behaviors or culture or traditions or actions in those communities influences the city that you live in. The cumulative behaviors or habits in those cities influence the country. And then as cumulatively we expand on that, the world is influenced. Where did it start from? Family. If we want to change the world, let's change the family unit.
That's a fine place to leave the conversation. Yeah. There's so much to unpack from this. There's so much. There's so much. If we had extended this show, there's so many questions to be asked. And I know that so many callers would have also called in to ask or contribute one way or the other. But we must thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Lanu Olushola for this masterclass that we didn't pay for. It's quite an interesting one. Thank you. Thank you so much. And you can go back to check online to revisit, what we have discussed this morning. It's such an impactful one that you can learn from to move you forward, the society, your family, your friends, everyone. Just share the link and you get so much to learn from it. Ladies, we have to end the show now. Thank you so much for being a part of the show.